Welcome to the debate from GiltEdge.uk. Before we begin, this content is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Always do your own research and consider seeking independent financial advice before making any investment decisions. Your capital is at risk. Today, the optimizer and the challenger go head-to-head on 14 days left. Your £20,000 I.S.A. allowance vanishes on April 5th. Here's why you should use it today. Let's get into it.
Let me put this as simply as I can. You have 14 days to shelter up to £20,000 from the taxman, and if you don't use that allowance by April 5th, it's gone forever. Not delayed, gone.
And there it is, right on schedule, the annual I.S.A. panic. Every March, the financial services industry runs the same playbook: countdown clocks, use it or lose it headlines, and I.S.A. providers buying Google ads like their lives depend on it.
It's not panic, it's maths. A basic rate taxpayer earning 4.68% on £20,000 outside an I.S.A. loses £187 a year in tax. That's real money walking out the door.
Sure, but you're forgetting the personal savings allowance. Basic rate taxpayers already get £1,000 of savings interest completely tax-free. You'd need over £21,000 in savings earning 4.68% before you even owe a penny in tax.
That's true for someone with only one savings pot. But most people have multiple accounts, a current account paying interest, a savings account, maybe some premium bonds. That £1,000 allowance gets eaten up faster than you think.
For most savers, it really doesn't. The median UK savings balance is around £17,000. At current rates, that generates roughly £750 in interest, well within the allowance.
But savings grow over time, and the personal savings allowance doesn't. It's been frozen at £1,000 since 2016. Every year that passes, more people get dragged into paying tax on their savings.
That's a fair point about fiscal drag, I'll give you that. But it's an argument for planning ahead in the new tax year, not for panic buying an I.S.A. in the next 2 weeks.
Why wait? Cash I.S.A.s are paying up to 4.68% right now with the base rate at 3.75%. That's a genuinely competitive tax-free return.
And that's exactly the trap. Those headline rates are on fixed-term products. If you rush into a 1-year fix just to beat the deadline, you're locking money away when rates could shift after the next Bank of England decision.
Easy access cash I.S.A.s are paying over 4% too. You don't have to fix. And even if rates fall, the money you've already sheltered keeps compounding tax-free year after year.
But here's what the countdown clock brigade never mentions: if you spend 10 minutes comparing rates in March versus 10 minutes in April, you'll probably find a better deal in April when the new tax year products launch and providers actually compete for your money.
You might get a marginally better rate, sure. But you permanently lost that year's £20,000 allowance. You can't carry it forward. April 6th gives you a fresh £20,000, it doesn't give you back the one you missed.
The allowance you lost isn't really lost though, is it? The money still exists. It's still earning interest. You just pay a bit of tax on it if you even exceed your personal savings allowance at all.
Now let's talk stocks and shares, because this is where it really matters. Every year you delay investing in a stocks and shares I.S.A. is a year of capital gains and dividends exposed to tax. Time in the market beats timing the market.
I completely agree that time in the market matters. But April is statistically the worst month to make emotional investment decisions. People pile into whatever fund is at the top of the bestseller list because they're racing a deadline, not because they've done proper research.
So open the I.S.A., put the cash in, and invest it once you've done your research. You can hold cash inside a stocks and shares I.S.A. The important thing is securing the tax wrapper before the deadline.
That's actually not bad advice. But it's very different from the invest £20,000 right now or you're throwing money away message that most of these deadline articles push.
I'm not saying invest blindly. I'm saying the administrative act of opening and funding the I.S.A. should happen now. Higher rate taxpayers only get a £500 personal savings allowance. For them, the tax savings are even more significant.
Now that I completely agree with. If you're a higher rate taxpayer with substantial savings, yes, the I.S.A. deadline genuinely matters. But that's not everyone must panic, that's targeted advice for a specific group.
And what about additional rate taxpayers? They get zero personal savings allowance. Every penny of interest is taxed. For them, not using their I.S.A. allowance is basically setting money on fire.
Additional rate taxpayers earning over £125,000 are not the people reading Use It or Lose It articles in a panic. They have financial advisors. The people these headlines target are ordinary savers who probably don't need to rush at all.
Ordinary savers are exactly who should care. Someone putting away £200 a month doesn't think of themselves as a serious investor, but after a few years those I.S.A. balances add up and the tax protection becomes genuinely valuable.
And if they're putting away £200 a month, they're contributing £2,400 a year, nowhere near the £20,000 limit. They can do that steadily from April onwards with no deadline pressure whatsoever.
But if they have any lump sum sitting in a standard savings account, a bonus, an inheritance, money from selling something, the end of the tax year is the nudge to get that sheltered. Behavioral finance tells us that without a deadline, people never get around to it.
And behavioral finance also tells us that artificial urgency leads to poor decisions. I'd rather someone opens an I.S.A. in May with the right provider than rushes into a bad one in March because a countdown clock told them to.
Look, we actually agree on more than we disagree. Don't invest blindly, do compare rates, and yes, the personal savings allowance covers many basic rate savers. But the deadline is real, the allowance is genuinely use it or lose it, and the cost of acting is zero while the cost of doing nothing compounds every year.
And I'd say we agree that I.S.A.s are great products, I'm not anti-I.S.A. But the breathless urgency is manufactured. For most people, the smart move is to take a breath, ignore the countdown clock, and make a considered decision in the new tax year rather than a panicked one in the old one.
My final point, open the I.S.A. today, fund it with whatever you can, and you'll thank yourself every April for the rest of your life.
And mine, the best financial decision is almost never the one you made in a rush because someone told you the clock was ticking.
The optimizer, the challenger, thank you both. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Read both articles in full at gilt-edge.uk. Thanks for listening to the debate.